Hey, baby.
The queen is back.
What's up, YouTube land, Twitter land, Instagram land, Snapchat, Grindr, Swap, and last but not least, every single one of my bitches. And I'm coming to you loud and in the color from the marvelous chateau.
How you doing? Come on, give it to me.
Missed you.
Missed you, baby.
Good.
Hello.
Me again. What's going on?
I come to you today post-work. I have been working in a school today, and this is probably my favourite outfit that I wear when I work in schools. It is a suit, but I wear it with a roll neck jumper so that I look sleek, and I always feel very professional and stylish wearing something like this. When I wear something like this, the kids I think they think that I'm rich or something, and they'll be like, "Are you posh, sir? Did you go to private school, sir? Is this the worst school you've ever taught in, sir?" And I'll be like, "No, I went to an ordinary comprehensive school like you guys are in." And I'm like, "I'm Welsh, don't know why you think I'm posh." Anyway, what I've also been doing when I've been working in schools is wearing my Lord of the Rings ring. And I find that when I wear it, I don't know which hand you're meant to wear it on if you're a man, but I don't really care. And I find that when I wear this, they either ask me if I'm married, and they ask me that instead of asking me if I'm gay or calling me a faggot. Yeah, I find that this is a good deterrent. And when they ask me if I'm married, I don't even need to answer. I just go and look at them as if they're stupid. Yeah. But really, it's just my Lord of the Rings ring, so... But yeah, I always feel very, very teacherly wearing this, and the kids know I mean business. Kylie! Those fake eyelashes are massive. Go outside and take those off. Don't look at me like that. Don't ignore me. Get off your phone. Get off your phone, Kylie.
Let me live!
Kylie! Don't mess with me.
And I'm gonna need you to know that I just might be your worst damn nightmare.
Yeah, I have just been chopping up some vegetables to make a ratatouille. So that will be a lovely dinner for me. Spring is in. And I love this time of year because it can be really cold in Manchester. Like sometimes it snows in March. And it can also be really, really warm and lovely and almost summery. Normally, even if it's a nice day like it is today, there's like a bit of a chilly wind, so I don't get too hot and flustered. Yeah, I'm loving the weather at the moment. What else? I'm also reading My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley, which is a new release, which I pre-ordered about 8 months ago. I am liking this so far. I've just been dipping in and out of it, you know, in between lessons in school. So hopefully I'll get through that quite quickly. But anyway, none of this is relevant.
So let's get into it, baby.
I'm here to do the DNF tag. I have tried to scour through who tagged me, but I think I just watched Sean the Book Maniac's one, Britta from The Second Shelf, Greg from Supposedly Fun, Hannah from Hannah's Books, Kieran from KD Books. So I don't think I was tagged by anyone, but it was just one of those things where they say, if you feel like doing it, do the tag. And I am actually going to say the same thing. So I'm not tagging anybody in this because people were doing it like 8 months ago. And what I'm also going to combine this video with is doing the DNF tag, and it's also going to be an unhaul. I'm going to do the questions first, and then I'm going to go through all the books I'm unhauling, and you will see me casting them away from my life at the end. Stick around for that. Okay. Question number 1. And I also have a chilled Diet Coke with me. Ah, bloody gorgeous. Question 1. Do you DNF? Yes. I recently DNF'd A Little Life. Never looked back. Question 2. If you do, does it count towards books read for the month? I don't count how many books I've read in a month because I'm not so narcissistic that I care about stuff like that. But I'm going to save things like that for my bookish rant series that I'm going to do. Ranting about Goodreads, ranting about Bookstagram, ranting about BookTube, ranting about all things bookish. Oh, I'm feeling bitchy today. But anyway, does it count towards the books read for the month? I suppose what they mean is, do you count it as a read if you've read it? And to me, it depends on why I DNF'd and, you know, at what point in the book I DNF'd. For instance, I DNF'd The Eighth Life maybe in like the summer of 2020, and I DNF'd that at page 5. So that's quite rare for me to DNF that soon in a book. But I just saw the cover in Waterstones, the beautiful hardback, and was absolutely seduced. I didn't even read the first few pages, which I should have done because then I would have known not to waste my money on it. But anyway, I gave up on it by page 5 because I just thought the writing was all over the place and very stale. Oof. And I gifted it and sent it away, expelled it from my existence by sending it to Gemma at Read a Book Gen. She loved the book, I think. So I'm glad it's in good hands now, Gemma. I did consider keeping hold of it because the cover was really beautiful, but it's a really big book, so it does take up room, which several other better books could be taking up. Yeah, let's take these off because my window is too reflective today. Okay. Do I count it? As I said, I don't count how many books I read in a month or a year or anything like that. Yeah, it really depends how long the book is. Ducks Newburyport, I read 186 pages of that. You know, that's a fair length. If I'd read 30 pages of it and DNF'd it, I don't think I would count that as reading it. But I think 186 pages, that's long enough to get the gist of what the author is trying to do. So it depends. Do I count a book I DNF as an actual read? It depends on how much of it I've read. What are the differences between a DNF and putting a book down for a bit? For me, it depends on the reasons why I'm DNFing it. And doing a literature degree taught me the wonders of DNFing and how there's millions of other books out there to read. So if you're hating a book or you feel like it's just not working for you at the moment, or if you weren't so stressed out at the moment, you would be able to concentrate on maybe a quieter novel more. So you'll keep hold of it maybe for a time when you are feeling in the mood for a quieter novel, that kind of thing. For instance, when I was at uni, I was doing a module on neoliberalism in the Thatcher era, and I DNF'd the Satanic Verses, but I didn't really think I was DNFing it at the time. I just read 30 pages of it, and it is, you know, very dense, and you need to pay a lot of attention, and it is quite a long book. So I just thought, don't have time, don't have the energy for it. Sorry, Salmon, I'll come back to you. So I kept hold of it, and I really like this, I don't know, cult cover. It feels very kind of hipster to have it. And it's a big, chunky edition. So yeah, I've kept hold of that, but I don't really count reading 30 pages of it as reading it. So I've kept hold of it because I definitely want to have another go at this at some point. So yeah, putting it down for a bit. I think it depends what you mean by a bit. For me, a bit is stop reading this book today. Maybe I'll get round to it later in the week. But if I don't come back to it till next Monday, to me, that is just putting it down for a bit. But if it's like a month between reading it again, I would count that as a kind of DNF. Number 4. A popular book that you DNF'd. Do Not Say We Have Nothing. Is that popular? I mean, it was shortlisted for the Women's Prize. I was really excited for this, and I was really, really loving the parts that were set in Canada. But when it went back in time, the characters felt like cardboard cutout characters just being moved around. It's meant to be about classical music, but apart from somebody like carrying a violin around, I don't remember it being that much about it. Someone was like a really important composer, but it seemed more like plot driven around, ooh, he's going to write it, but is anybody going to listen to it? Is he going to be able to telegram the sheets of music he's written? Stuff like that. I think it was more like that rather than actual, I don't know, lyrical discussions on the nature of classical music and things like that. But I did DNF it at page 292. So I had read maybe about 3/5 of it. So I was like, that is giving it a really good go. So I'm holding on to it because maybe if I hear more about it and people say, no, you've got to keep reading it because towards the end it focuses on the Canadian modern section and it's just so fucking good. If, I hear that kind of stuff, maybe I would consider coming back to it. Number 5, a book that you wished you had DNF'd. I don't have an answer for this because I do just DNF a book if I don't like it.
That's how we deal with you.
Number 6, will you reread a DNF? Has this ever been successful? Yes, I will reread a DNF if I hear more about it, or if maybe I DNF'd it quite early on and I was liking some bits but not liking other bits. and I wasn't sure which way the novel was going to go carrying forward. If I was reading it during a stressful period and I've just thought I'm going to keep it for another time when I'm less stressed and can really focus on it, I will reread it. But something like White Teeth, I DNF'd this the first time I read it. Yeah, I think I DNF'd it at page 125 because the end of the chapter before I just thought was ridiculous. And I just thought the characters are just being moved around as plot devices. And I just didn't believe logically that they would do that. But then right at the end of the novel, it actually explains why they did what they did. But I didn't know that when I was rereading it. I just thought I was really liking some of the writing. After about a year, actually, I'd kind of cooled down because that really, really annoyed me when I read it, that bit. I was just like, this is so hyped. Everybody says it's so amazing. And I just thought the characters are just behaving so stupidly. But then when I reread it, I actually really, really enjoyed it. So this is, I would say it's probably the best novel that I've read by Zadie Smith. But I do have a soft spot for NW because some of the writing in NW is extremely beautiful. But generally, I think this is like the most readable and immersive of her novels. When I reread it, I really, really enjoyed it. And then when I got to the end of it, when it explained why they did do what they did in the army, I was like, ooh, it did all work out. So yeah, DNFing this and coming back to it was majorly successful for me. Number 7, what do you do with a book that you DNF? Now, this depends on why I'm DNFing it. If I feel like I don't have the mental capacity to give this book the time it needs, I will hold on to it, as I have done with A Paragon. And if I feel like I don't know that much about the novel before going in, I will keep hold of it. Apart from those reasons, I normally DNF a book because it was shit, in my opinion, or because it was just getting outrageous with what it was trying to do, or the plot was getting outrageous, and the characters' motivations just seemed ridiculous. That is normally one of the main reasons I will DNF.
Where is the gravitas?
And if it's something like that, I will just chuck it out. And also, if the writing is really stale, that is another main reason why I will DNF. And then number 8, do you choose more or less risky titles because of your stance on DNFing? I suppose I will choose more risky books. I have no qualms about reading a 1,000-page novel because hopefully I will read it and really enjoy it and find it as immersive as it's supposed to be if it's that long of a novel. But if it feels like it's going to drag on, I can just DNF it. And DNFing, I can come back to it if I feel more like reading it, or I can dispel it from my existence if I thought it was terrible and I never, ever, ever want my eye to meet its pages ever again. I can DNF, yeah. I think it also means I'm more confident with stepping out of my comfort zone because I can read a YA if I want to, because if it's shit, I can just DNF it. I don't really think I understand people who never, ever, ever DNF. People who, even if they absolutely hate a book, they will be like, no, I must read the book till the last page. To me, that just seems silly. Because I'm like, if you're not enjoying it and you're not getting anything out of it at all, what you're carrying on reading is just going to make you hate the book even more, probably. It's kind of like if you come across a person, if that person is being really horrible to you and they just seem like they have a really negative energy, do you want to be around them? No, you want to move as far away from them as you can be. So yeah, sometimes it takes a while to suss out if books are like that, but sometimes you can tell straight away and you can see them coming. Okay, so yeah, that is the DNF part of this video.
Time to move along.
And now I am going to move on to the books that I am unhauling. First of all, Moby Dick. I did love this novel, but I hate these Wordsworth Classic editions. The paper is so thin. You can see the next page through the other pages. These spines crinkle up and mar really easily.
Disgraceful.
And I've also ordered a hopefully nicer version of this book. So, goodbye, Moby Dick. DNF this. Goodbye. The Book Thief. I did read this to the end and it was okay. Am I ever going to read it again? No, because it sentimentalizes the Holocaust. In my opinion, it sentimentalizes it anyway, and just didn't like the way he wrote about the Holocaust. I thought he like romanticized the era too much. And I feel like anybody who had ever lived through that time would not write about it in such a way that he did. So, goodbye. Looking for Alaska by John Green. DNF'd it. I'm keeping hold of The Fault in Our Stars, but Looking for Alaska, somebody will be looking for you in the book bin, maybe. Twilight. Now, I had held on to this for a couple of years just because I do really like this edition of it. But generally, as a book, it was stale. By page 180, it was a slog to get through. But I was enjoying it up to that point. So, you know, even though it is pretty, maybe it will come into the hands of some naive young girl who will treasure it. So, goodbye. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. This is a novel by one of my favourite authors, but I already have an edition of this, and a nicer edition. So, goodbye, Mrs. D. I will send you on your way. The Shadow King by Marza Mengistu. Didn't like it. Boring. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. Read this all the way through. It was easy enough to read, but am I ever going to read it again? No. And I also don't like when they put matchsticks on book covers. Girl Online by Zoe Serg. Have I read this? I think I did read this when I was maybe 19, and I did kind of end up hate reading it. You know, that's where you carry on reading a book even though you know it's trash, just because it's so trash that it's actually comical. Thor by Fiona Robin. Now, this is another book that I hate read. And I think this is why I don't like when characters self-sabotage for no reason other than dragging the plot forward. Because this is a book I would just love hate reading. This is the premise. Ruth is 32 years old. She doesn't know if she wants to be 33. Her meticulously ordered, lonely life as a microbiologist is starved of pleasure and devoid of meaning. She decides to give herself 3 months to decide whether or not to end her life, and we read her daily diary as she struggles to make sense of her past and grapples with the pain of the present. Can Red, the eccentric Russian artist Ruth commissions to paint her portrait, find a way to warm her frozen heart? I've read this twice, actually. I love to hate read it. The tone of the narrator is just so dull that I would actually read sections of it aloud to myself in a Brummie accent. And then I just find the novel absolutely hilarious. So this was when I was at undergrad that I read this just for fun and did have a hell of a lot of fun reading it, when really it's meant to be quite a sad novel. And I recorded myself on my phone reading it and then played it to the people in my seminar and they were just pissing themselves laughing. Let's see. So in it, she's not from Birmingham. I think she lives in Brighton or London, maybe. I just thought her voice was so boring, it just sounds perfect in a Brummie accent. Here we go. I wanted Zoe to call Red today and tell him I was ill, but she refused. She said it would be better for me to talk to him. She can be a real bully. So I called early in the morning when I thought I might get the answer phone, but he answered, sounding even more gruff than usual. I said it was me, and his voice brightened, and he asked if I was okay. I said I wasn't feeling too good, and that I'd be in on Thursday. I tried to say goodbye, but he interrupted and asked me if I'd been hurt when I saw my painting. I thought I might as well tell the truth and said it had made me sad. He said, yeah, it would. Yeah, I used to titter a lot reading that out to myself. Okay, next book. I did read this all the way through. It's short, readable enough, but did not like the writing really by the end of it. Never going to read it again. Au revoir. And the final book that I am unhauling, Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. So yeah, goodbye. Do you unhaul books? Do you DNF books? Let me know. I need to go and take my ratatouille out of the oven. Bye.
reality. Where is the gravitas?
Almost convinced me you're gonna stick around.